This episode is brought to you by Mecca Books, your source for traditional Islamic knowledge. It's where seekers of knowledge go to buy their books. Go directly to Mecca Books because they have a massive catalog that covers just about every topic from fiqh, aqeedah, hadith, tasawwuf, and everything else in between. You can go to meccabooks.com/TMM and use the code TMM for a 10% discount.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Moves podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Sheikh Amir
Assalamu alaikum.
and Mort. We have a wonderful show for you all this evening. But before we get started, help us out on patreon.com/themadmamlukes. And help us by clicking the old like button and make sure you comment in the comment section below and help out the old algorithm. Our guest today is the founder of Ihsan Coaching. He's also a student of Darul Qasim Institute, local to Chicago, one of our favorite places in the world, right? After the Haramain, right, Chef?
I don't know. I think the Quds is for me after
Okay,
that.
after the Quds.
Yeah.
He is Farhan Ahmed. Welcome to the show, Farhan Ahmed, bright and budding star.
MashaAllah.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for having me.
Uh,
But I also want to just correct something. I used to study at Darul Qasim.
Yeah.
So
what happened? Why did you stop?
that's a great question. Why did I stop, right?
Yeah.
Aqeedah problems? That's usually the main cause.
Yeah, you know, Aqeedah problems. That was the issue. Now, I had two kids at the time. My daughter was just born, and I needed to go back to full-time work,
Of
right?
course.
So at that moment, like, you know, when I was studying, I would work at the evenings at Khalil Center. I would study in the mornings at Darul Qasim, but it was just really hard to make ends meet.
Bro, the fuqaha of the past would abandon their family. The scholars of the
I
past,
tried to abandon
the
my
family
life.
was not an excuse for them.
I don't think they would abandon the family. Maybe.
They would come back to them years later and see how they're doing, you know.
Yeah.
Mort, hold this guy down, bro. Your boy's out of control, man. He's out of control.
So yeah, it was just difficult. So you know, I just went back to work.
That's what you gotta do, bro.
But-
You gotta do what you gotta do for your family, man.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah. That's all a part of it, man. Alhamdulillah.
So it's on coaching. Well, what in God's world,
started it?
why would you want to do this? Why would you want to hear people complaining day in, day out, all day and every day about their problems, their wife's not
Yeah.
sleeping with them, they got
Whoa,
you know,
that escalated really quickly.
there's always some issue, yes, yeah. Have you ever done actually you have done
More
marital
faith-based-
counseling,
faith-based counseling.
faith-based counseling, like
Faith-
problem.
Faith-based. People who have some crises in faith and stuff like that, you know?
All right. Well, maybe Farhan can enlighten us
Yeah,
as to why
please.
he chose this field.
But before we do that, I actually
go
love
ahead.
the name. I
yeah.
remember when you told me about it. What was your driving force of calling it Ihsan and not just counseling? Because usually people say
Yeah,
counseling.
that's a great
what's
question.
what's the name? Coaching.
So why
Ihsan
coaching and
Yeah.
not counseling? Because counseling can only be done in the state that you live in. With coaching, now I can see people all across the U.S. And I grew up in Ohio. Springfield, Ohio, only 50 Muslim families, 45 of them were doctors, my dad included, and we didn't have any Muslim therapists or resources. So growing up, you know, I was like, okay, where do we go? Where do Muslims go if they need help? Now, Chicagoland has a lot of resources. They got Khalil Center, they got a lot of different places. But now what about people in Arkansas, Iowa, Idaho, all these different places that are calling us now? And they're like, women or mothers are crying and saying, you know, I didn't even know that something like you existed. So that's my target audience. Yes, we see people from Chicago, but with calling it coaching, now we can see people in different states.
I see.
Right? And not everybody has life struggles, but not everybody needs a diagnosis. Right? With therapy, because of insurance purposes, you have to label them. Right? But not everybody wants to be labeled. So
Yeah.
with this, now we could bypass that.
That's a great.
So all of us are licensed therapists. Myself and the three others that are on our team, Marwan Abdul Ghani, Rehana Rana, and Asma Mahman. But you know, so I tried making it like the quality, the standard. We have to have like everybody has to be licensed. But you know, this is coaching.
Yeah, I want to make the distinction because there's some people who don't go through the educational rigor and they call themselves coaches. Farhan, on the other hand, has gone through the rigor. He's
True.
we're very well educated in counseling and
Yeah,
there are people
related
who
to
go
this.
out there and they self-diagnose people as narcissists.
There is.
And you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's a
true.
dangerous path.
Take a few courses and they think they call someone a narcissist, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am a licensed clinical professional counselor, like the highest in the state of Illinois. In that sense, alhamdulillah, right?
Oh man.
But you know why ihsan coaching? Like why ihsan? Because we want to provide excellence, right? And we want to help you try getting to ihsan. Obviously, we never ever get to
That's beautiful.
thing, but that's what we're trying to go towards, right? Like the hadith.
Very nice. Yeah, it's so hard to hear him talk like this because I remember the first time I saw him, and he still has a baby face. Right?
Oh yeah.
I still think you're like 20 years old or 21 years old.
I'm 33, by the way.
Mashallah.
So alhamdulillah, 33,
Wow.
married for 13 years, 3
Honestly,
kids.
honestly, I thought you were like in your early 20s, and I was like, man, what does this guy know about counseling?
that you know, that's a
It's
great
already
point.
coming off.
No, I love it. I love it. Because,
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
because now he clarified he's 33.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got some years under your belt, but
Yeah.
that I couldn't make that joke if he
So
wasn't.
basically,
if
what
he,
he means is when you walked in the room, that's what he thought of you.
No,
but he changed it now.
I get that at work all the time. Like I work IT.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, what do you know about the world life or work life?" Right? I'm like, "Man, I'm 33 years old," and they're like, "Oh, I thought you just graduated out of college." Right? Sometimes people see me walking with my kids. They're like, "Oh, that's your son." Or they think that's my brother, my little
That's
brother.
kind of cute, dude. That's
Mashallah,
adorable.
man, you got a
That's
baby
adorable.
face. That's a good thing because you know the ladies love it.
Hey, for him, it's lady love it.
Hey.
He doesn't care about anything else. Why are you trying to get him a control?
No, I'm not. Bro. He knows what's
He's
up.
talking about potential.
We should get into this topic too.
So inshallah, yeah. And second, you know, you look young, and that's great.
Mashallah.
Yeah, it's good
great.
to look young. Otherwise,
It
you
is.
look like Ahmed, you know.
Yes, you look like me, bro.
You know.
The sins have taken a toll on our sheikh.
You guys are going in today, huh? Mashallah.
I didn't
boys.
say anything about
I'll
you.
let you guys do it. Bring it
No,
on.
I didn't say anything.
Bring it on.
What did I say?
Google Yahoo.
I said
Google
nothing
Yahoo.
live
Just
about
bring
you.
it on.
He's confusing the post show with the current show. During the live, I said nothing ill about you, ya Sheikhana.
Yeah, okay. Yes, thank you. But anyways, let's focus on ihsan coaching. How's that,
So,
guys?
well, what's the biggest complaint right now going on with families? What are your primary clientele complaints? Let's start off with that.
Yeah, I mean, well, we see a lot of marital. We do a lot of marital work. We'll work with a lot of marital couples, and I think the biggest complaint right now is lack of communication. You know, what happens a lot of times is that people are, been married for a while inside their marriages, and life stresses happen. You know, change of job. More children are added inside the family to the family, and now they don't know how to adjust at that moment in time. And people get so busy in their lives, day-to-day lives, that they stop making time for each other. And when that happens, you start seeing like resentment build up, and people, like couples, stop communicating. I mean, I always ask couples this all the time. Do you sit down with each other for 15 minutes a day and talk with one another?
Oh
Right?
wow,
And
That's
most
the-
couples
you're-
can't do that. Or don't do that.
He's striking a chord with me.
bro.
Oh, I'm not looking at you.
No,
I'm
no,
just
I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying you remind me of somebody very well that I know. But anyways, go ahead.
No, I mean, so lack of communication. That's usually what like the women say on the women's side. Like,
Yeah.
no, he never communicates
That's
with me.
true.
Yeah.
So let's just do a role play with me and
No,
Mark.
I got a quick question. Though. No, before we get to the role play, before you get to your fetish.
Chef, you
yeah.
want to be the wife?
No, okay, no, but listen, I'm generally curious. So, like he mentioned, women generally complain that men don't communicate enough. I'm sure it could be the other way around too sometimes, but I'm saying generally speaking, what I've seen or heard, or what people talk about. But I think on the flip side, I think that's probably more real because I'll just use myself as an example, right? Like I don't want to talk about what's going on.
Either.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not that I don't confide, or it's not with anybody, right? I think like a lot of men feel that way. Maybe it's cultural, maybe it's because you're brought up, but like, I'm not gonna come and be like, yo, my day was like this. I got so much to worry about. This is what's going on at work. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. This is what's bothering me. I can't like mentally do that to anybody, not just a woman. I'm saying my partner, but I'm saying to anybody. Like I've never come to any one of you guys and be like, yo, my God, man, my whole life is.
Yeah, that would be weird if you did that.
Yeah, right. And I'm not saying that other men can't. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying this is the way I am, and I think a lot of other guys I've known are this way too.
Yeah.
So how do you like because like naturally we have that 15-minute conversation. It's that one time in the day she's gonna dump all the stuff on you and expecting it back, right? Right? And if you don't, then it's like, oh, you're not investing in
Here's
this.
a coaching session for you right
this
now,
is what
buddy.
it is, right? They're not actually, what they want is the quality time. A lot of times when we're talking with our wives, we're on our phones or watching TV, might be sitting next to them and we think that's quality. For them, it's not quality. So it's not necessarily, you have to agree with them or you have to even respond but you have to just be there in their presence and actually actively engaging. Like, I'm looking you in your eyes, right? I'm looking at you.
It's a little uncomfortable, to be honest.
To you.
It's a little
Right?
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but see, that's the thing. Like, what did we learn in the Shama'il and all of these places, right? Like the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When he would look at somebody, when he talked to somebody, he would face them. He would look in their eyes, right? When he was done with them, he would turn completely away from them. The same thing, like anybody wants. When I'm talking to, like at work, I can't be on my phone. I can't be looking everywhere. My boss is going to think I'm crazy, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at your partner, give them that attention. And I'm telling you, you give them 10 to 15 minutes where they're able to talk about their feelings or talk about whatever it is that's on their mind.
Yeah.
That's more than
Oh,
enough.
I
if
think-
you give them a pinky, they want an hour, bro. Are you out of your mind?
Dr. John Gottman, leading marital therapist in the world.
By the way, we're not like belittling what you're
Yeah,
saying.
no, I got
This
you.
is just how
No,
the
we're just
energy
making you
is.
the
No, I
wife
got
right
you,
now.
I got you.
We're just making you the wife right now. That's what we're doing.
This is what
why I
guys
can't
think,
look at you.
Yeah,
So
no, you're right. A lot of
you
guys
give them
think that.
15 minutes, they want an hour. If you give them an hour, they want half your day.
No, a lot of guys think
It's
like
never
that,
enough.
Right? I mean, let's be real. It's never enough, right?
Yeah.
It's never going to be enough. The wife always wants more, right? I mean, but the thing is that, okay, how do we satisfy them? What can we do? How can we give them what they need so that we could get what we need? So one of my friends, he says a nice line. He says, sometimes you got to simp to pimp. Right? I always
Wow,
found that very
simp to
fun.
pimp.
I always found that really funny. I'm gonna shout his name, Zohaib. But he always says that line, and I was like, "What does that mean?" Like, it's interesting. He's like, "Look, you got to do a little bit of what they want, right? And then you get what you want.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to give them what they want at the end, they're not getting their needs met. This is why a lot of these problems happen. Sexual intimacy, there's lack of sexual intimacy. There's a lack of, building a relationship, getting, hanging out with your boys, going out. I mean, I know a lot of guys nowadays, they can't even leave the house, right? They're like, you tell them, they're like, oh, I need a month advance. Even if then. And even on that week of, when you're about to hang out, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't hang out. I'm like, what's going on? They can't get any free time.
So let's talk. Wait. So
you're saying there's an extreme simping going on too?
Oh,
That's
of course.
So
No, but
that's causing a problem in the relationship.
Women don't like simps, first of all.
Yeah.
Women do not like simps. I was in a master's, when I was doing my master's, I was with 15 white girls, right? I was the only male in that thing. And I gave my whole theory about like what a girl wants, right? What women want in a man. Not one of those white women or any of those women said I was wrong, right? They were like, yeah, you're exactly right. This is what we're looking for in a man.
I love how I use the white woman, like cream of the crop. Right?
No, there was
white woman. The white woman agreed with me.
You didn't mean it like that.
I didn't mean it like that. I just said the demographics in the class,
yeah.
right? I think one might have been Latina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I want to say it like this. So wait, because I've always thought, and I could be wrong here, but like it's always good to have space, like get out of the house, be away, right? Because if I'm taking with anybody, even these guys, long enough, I'm gonna get tired of it.
Yeah.
Like when me and Sim were living together, we went on opposite ends of the house for a little while, and then we come back at the nighttime. I can't just be sitting with them all day long, right? It just would be annoying.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the same thing would happen when you get that cabin fever, right? Where you just, you're always around, and then you tend to like ignore, like, I don't know, like when you don't see someone for a while, you're like, oh wow, they look really nice. Like when you come back, right? You're like, oh wow, right? But if you're there all the time, like, it's just kind of, normal.
Yeah.
That's one of the best advices I got in 11th grade. My English teacher, his name was Mr. Manley, right? So he told us that he was giving us like marital advice. I don't know why in 11th grade in English class, but he was telling us that, him and his wife, they purposely give each other space and time because you want to yearn for one another. If you're always around one another, then it's like, okay, we know everything already about each other. What's there to talk about?
Yeah.
Right? So even when you travel, it's good like to give some separation and then come back, and then you see that both spouses are much more happier.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you were talking about more is, I think by just sharing thoughts and just spending quality time, it's not just about just sharing your feelings and stuff like that. It's just, I think a lot of times, and I think most guys fall short, and I think I do too, is it's just, like you said, just sitting down and talking, just like, what's up? Because after you have like multiple kids and your work, and you just think that everything is done, this is how it's going to be forever. And I think I say that all the time anyway. This is how it's going to be, so this is how it be. You just got to live with it type
like
thing,
the routine.
The routine.
Yeah.
And I think that it kind of has to break, and I think I'm kind of maturing in that level too, is because after a while you're just like, man, 4 kids, you're working and you're just trying to grind it out, and you're just like, okay, this is life, dude. Who cares,
Regarding
Yeah.
also, there's a lot of others who are right now, they've taken everything, all the courses, all the major institutes and the celebrity scholars.
But that's
they taught them
Master
to
classes.
the master classes, how to take care of your wife. They've checkmarked everything, and their wife is still not putting out.
But
what would you tell them to?
I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I mean this with no disrespect.
Yeah.
People have not they haven't there's a lot of people that are doing marital work, but they're not experts in this. They don't know what they're doing. I've heard from a lot of people that they make it worse than better.
Names. No, I'm just joking.
I'm not saying that.
I'm joking.
No, I mean, let me tell you this,
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna be very honest. I studied 3 years of the Alim course. Now, if I'm going on the member, if I'm giving bayans and I'm doing all that, I'm doing a disservice, right? I'm a half-baked Alim, right? I'm a half-baked scholar. I know a little bit. I could give a little bit, but comparing me to you, big difference, right?
Maybe in weight, but yeah.
But same thing. If I went through all of these courses and trainings, and I this is my work life living and so forth, this is what I do. And now you got somebody that took a couple of courses here, learned a little bit of there, and now they're trying to do this work. I mean, first of all, not everybody's fit for it. Not everybody's cut out for this kind of work. And on top of that, do you actually have the skill set and the knowledge to do it? If you want to do a role play, we'll do a role play of how I do, what I do, how I work with other couples. I found it very successful. Yes, one time there was a scholar, he gave a bayan, and he was giving 15 points of what a couple should do.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are going to write 15 points down? After 3 points, you're going to be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Not to say that scholars don't play a role, because they're the first responders. People go to them before they go to us. We all got to work in collaboration here. But my whole point of it being is that, you got to go to the well at the end of the day.
So you want to do the role play?
Yeah, we'll do that in a second. But
do you uncomfortable now?
Do you think that, in your opinion, from the messaging that many young Muslims got from pretty much every scholar out there, there's no reason to call out anyone because everyone's pretty much guilty of it. They went to bat for women. I think.
Wait, so what is this? I don't know what you're talking about. What advice do they give to people?
No, meaning you got to take care of your wife, help vacuum the house, and all that stuff. Cross off all the check marks to make sure you get laid at the end of the night.
But they never told the wife to drain her husband's balls. That's the bottom line.
What?
No, I'm just saying, it's a reality, bro.
So Chris Rock said something, right?
It's a reality.
Dude, anyway, bro, there's other ways of saying that. He said it
Okay,
fine.
sorry, it just came out.
Bro, so
All
anyway, Sim. So check this out. No, I'm being serious now. Okay, let's just try to.
Yeah.
Give me a few things what scholars have told people that messed up people's marriages. This is an honest question.
Yeah, I mean, the fiqh of love type that messaging.
I wasn't there. I don't know what they talked about.
Can I help you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like this. How dare you think that your wife is going to clean and cook for you? This is not what she's supposed to do. That's your responsibility. You don't ever think you're going to get married to do that. All your wife has to do is raise your kids.
Really?
Yeah, stuff like this. Literally. How dare you even think that? What are you, marrying a maid? That kind of thing. They actually they made men feel bad for thinking that a woman would do housework. They almost made it seem like that you were commanding something haram upon them. That you were oppressing them if you expected these things to be done.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, this is the thing.
So
Imam Malik said that a man should cook his own food. He has to clean and cook and everything. All she has to do is raise his kids.
And if she then chooses out of her the goodness of her heart to make intimacy with you, then be grateful that she did that.
So I want to jump in here, right? Because this is something that we talk about in the premarital phase with a lot of couples. We've done 26 of these in the last year. Out of 6 of them after they went through our program, called it quits. right? Because they're not asking the right questions. So expectations, what you're talking about. Yes, we understand religiously what a man needs, what a man has to do, what a woman has to do, and so forth. But we all have expectations upon one another. For instance, let me ask you this: does your parents, do they both work?
No.
Okay, what did your mom do?
Stayed at home homemaker.
Okay, so your dad's expectation of your mom was to raise you guys
Yes.
and take care of the household, right? Now, what was your mom's expectation of your dad?
Work and
Put food on the table.
Put food on the table.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the thing, is that you have to define these roles as well before you go inside the marriage. Because nowadays, if both partners want to work, but you're expecting your wife to cook and clean and all of these things, it's not going to work out, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a more traditional role at home.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, going back to what they're saying is like, you know, a lot of times what I'm hearing, I did hear what they have been saying too, is that, oh, you know what, the man has to do more work and the woman doesn't have to do X, Y, Z. And that's fine but it's nothing wrong if they want to live that traditional lifestyle as well.
Of course, yeah.
Right. And that's what I think that's happening is more people nowadays are saying, oh, this scholar is saying this person is saying this. Now I don't have to do it. Right. And they're using them as a hujjah, as a proof. Right. Oh, so-and-so sheikh said this. Now I don't got to listen to you. Right. But now what's the institution of marriage? You're going to break it down. Like, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the issues that I'm seeing. The other biggest issue is that a lot of times, look, ulama are busy. They're dealing with like 5,000 people in the community or whatever.
Yeah.
Now people are talking about the marriages. A lot of women are coming to me saying that, yeah, the sheikh said to get a divorce. They're not listening to my kids. They're just saying he's not worthy of it. Just divorce him. But they don't really want to divorce him, right? They want to work out the issues over here. So how can you tell a person to get divorced when you're not living their life?
Yeah.
I'm not for divorce. I'm not against divorce. My parents are divorced, right? So, I mean, I get it. Sometimes the best thing is to get divorced. But the thing is that you have to be balanced. And if you're not balanced and you're not listening to both sides, we jump to one person's side quickly. And nowadays what's happening is that we'll automatically assume that one party is guilty.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're not doing justice. That's the biggest issue. So I've had a lot of women that said that I don't want to get divorced, but I want to work on my marriage. This person is telling me, if, you know, to get divorced, what do I do? How do I work it out? You know, so then we go through the whole exercise with them and we help them out. And so we go, like, I had this one woman, I'll tell you a story, right? This woman, I knew this woman, her husband was cheating on her. Okay? Straight up cheating on her. And she found out. She found out that he was cheating on her. Now, according to everybody else, they were like, leave him. Leave the guy. Right? So then I started talking to her. I said that, okay, what do you want to do? It's easy for me to tell you to get divorced and leave him and he's going to be like this, but I'm not living your life. After I tell you this, I go back to my wife and my kids. What do you want to do? And so she's like, I don't know if I want to leave him. I said that, okay, let's go through this whole scenario. What's going to happen with your kids? Well, I got X amount of kids. If I leave them, they're going to get uprooted. We're going to have to move in with my parents. It's going to be difficult for them. Okay, so you're saying that it's going to be difficult for your kids. What about you? How do you work? Do you not work? No, I don't work. Okay, what's going to happen with your lifestyle? I don't know. I'm not going to have any money. I don't know how I'm going to survive. I'm going to be a burden on my parents. Okay, so we're going through all these scenarios, and you're telling me at the end that you're thinking that it's better to try working on the marriage than getting a divorce. Not me telling you. You see the opposite. So then she's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should try working on it. Now we worked on the couple, the husband and the wife and everything. It became down to, look, and I'm not excusing his cheating. It was wrong. Cheating is wrong at the end of the day. You know, you're breaking the institution of marriage. But the thing is that it came down to he was not getting his sexual needs fulfilled, right? So we worked on that as a couple. She called me up a year or two later thanking me, saying that, thank you, you saved my marriage. Alhamdulillah. Right? Alhamdulillah. Now, at that point in time, I could have said, hey, leave him, he's a cheater, or what everybody else was saying. But now they're thriving in their marriage, right? Yeah. So, I mean, these are the things. You have to be balanced. You have to understand where the person's coming from, see their situation, and see what's ideal for them.
So that's second. Is there anything else, like a third, that you would see other than the first two that you mentioned, of type of cases that you see?
What, cheating and...
what was the first one? The first one was... what was the first one? What did you mention for the first one?
No, we'll come back to it.
We'll
though.
come back to so just give me the look.
No, but
Is there anything, because I want to know kind of like a top 5 type thing.
Well, so there's 5 main reasons, right? And I think we should talk about these. One is
Communication was the first one.
yeah, communication. There's sexual intimacy. There's in-laws, family, friends, and interests. Like what you guys like.
in-laws, that annoys me. That one I get on guys about, like, man, straighten out your house and make sure that, you know, people don't have their say in things that are between you and your wife.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is people allow others to get inside the marriage. And I always tell people, do not involve your family and friends.
100%.
Your 40% of divorces are because of other people. Even if the husband and wife are on the same page, if people are whispering in your ear, you're going to let your husband do that? You're going to let your wife talk to you like that? Well, what kind of marriage is this? Then you start thinking, man, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't allow this. And now you're causing problems within your own marriage when originally you didn't even think there was a problem. And so what we're seeing, especially between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, and the biggest issue,
That's always going to be there, right?
But what the thing is, the men have to step up. They don't want to say anything to their mom because they love their mom. They don't want to they don't want to say anything to the wife because, you know, that's the mother of their kids or whatever, right? They're married to them. So what they do, they take a back seat, they like figure it out. Now you're going to let these 2 women figure it out, right? 2 different women figure it out. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to manage the situation. You have to be a real man here. If your mom is wrong, you got to let her know, like, mom, you know, like, respectfully let her know that you got to, like, back off a little bit, right? If your wife is wrong, you got to let her know that, hey, listen, I understand where you're coming from, but you got to understand my mom as well. So you have to really mediate the situation. A lot of guys do not do that. And I've seen this happen and where the marriage breaks down. Couples that I know that are madly in love with each other, right? That everything was going fine. People started meddling in, the mother-in-law or somebody started meddling in. What happened? All of a sudden, they end up marital counseling or whatever, and they get divorced. And they actually are telling me or telling other people that I know that actually I love that person, but I can't believe they talked to my mom like this or this is happening or whatever. And you're allowing other people to ruin your beautiful relationship. And you got kids involved in all of these things.
Yeah, that's when it gets sad. We got kids involved, man.
It's sad. I mean, like, if you step up, if the man steps up and handles the situation and not allows the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law to get into it, then you'll see a different side of it. Your wife does not have to like your mom, right? But a lot of times we can't decompartmentalize. We can't say, okay, my mom's here, my wife's here. As long as I can see my parents, I'm good with it, everything, that's good enough for me. Yeah, your wife will come along sometimes and so forth to the family parties, gatherings, and everything. But why does they don't need to be best friends. Your relationship was with your wife.
Yeah.
Your relationship was with your mom. I mean, yeah, it would be great if it kumbaya, but at the end of the day, it's not always going to be ideal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's true. You have to kind of come to grips with that. That has to be an expectation too, that everyone's not going to end up loving each other all the time the way you want them to, right?
they're not going to love each other all the time. I mean, they come from different families. Yeah, that's your mom. You came from her. This woman didn't come from your mom.
Yeah.
She has a different personality.
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing is that, I mean, if you
Can't you just like talk crap about your mom to your wife and then talk crap about your wife to your mom?
What a punk! Who would want to do that?
Why not? I think it would be like make
The
them both
dumping ground.
happy.
You have
say,
to-
yeah.
No,
she's-
You have the cojones
No,
to
but
talk crap about your mom.
listen, I'm
just so that you need to get her to shut up
This is
sometimes,
genius.
you know?
Do you know why? Because when you get close to your mom, you talk about her, and you close to your wife, talk about your mom, because they both hate each other, right? So it's like you get close to both of them. I'm on your team, you know what I mean?
Y'all are funny. Yeah, Hadith has something beautiful. He said, "If I would never backbite, if I did, I'd do it to my mother. So I could. I'd want to take all of her sins, and she could take all my good deeds."
Oh, subhanAllah, man. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
bro. Yeah,
That's what he was thinking.
that is not what he was thinking. He said, "So she
Why
can
do you
shut up."
doubt? Why
He
do
said,
you
"So my
doubt
wife
his
can
intention?
shut up."
Actually,
I'm not doubting his intention. I just know him. Anyways, no, I see what you're saying.
Ma, if you're watching, I never talk crap about you. Ma,
yeah. If you want me to slap him, Auntie, let me know. I can do it right now live on TV.
No, he's a good boy.
my mom's an angel. She loves.
Yeah, his mom is amazing.
Mashallah.
And because, plus, she thinks I'm the best member of the show. So
No, you are. You
Yeah,
are.
so she's amazing.
You are. One thing I want to know about Ihsan coaching, like, and I think this kind of leads to some of the stuff that we're talking about. Was it actually difficult to get everything established for you? Because there's so many other counseling centers there, right? Like you said, you work with Khalil Center, you have Heart Speak, Edmund Arroyo,
Yeah.
you have all these people popping up. Even ICNA Relief does its own type of thing. Like, and you're kind of in the middle of all this. Like,
I'll be honest with you. I thought it would be a lot easier because of my connections and like I've been in this field for 9+ years, but it's a struggle, right? It's a lot of I mean, like I don't like to see it as competition, but like in the word, like okay, they're different. They're a competitor, right? But they're not. I try working with everybody, but in that sense, like there's a lot of different people, like different organizations already. So it's like trying to establish yourself, trying to build trust, trying to get inside different masajid, trying to like get in different programs, right? People want to see. A lot of times I hear people tell me that, oh, you're not big enough yet, right? You're not there yet. Like, how many views do you have on YouTube?
Oh wow!
Right, and so because I don't even have like we have a YouTube channel, but we're starting up still. Like it's only been 1 year, so I didn't have a lot. So I was like, okay, what do I do?
Well, now you can say you've been the Madam Luke's.
Yeah, no, of course, you know, like hey, no, but like you know, Naveed
That's not a big accolade.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna shout out Naveed Hussein, the lawyer, because he helped me out a lot. He got me on doing a couple of episodes.
I saw that you guys did a good collaboration.
It hit like each 2 episodes hit 1,000. You know, and nobody really.
No,
knows
you guys had a great collaboration. You guys have good chemistry, mashallah.
Yeah, I like him too, man. He just keeps it real, and
he's a real guy.
Yeah,
So-
y'all listeners, you're going to be seeing a lot of David Hussein on the show. He's going to be, inshallah, he's committed to being a guest fill-in, as we talked about in the previous shows.
Beautiful.
Nice.
And the reason I was asking about that is because, look, a lot of these institutes or institutions, a lot of these centers, they have a niche. They've taken care of a niche type of people. So what is it that you saw that probably, you know, I need to fill in the void as far as counseling is concerned? Or did you just kind of just take care of that by coaching instead?
Well, so we only work on a certain amount of things. We can't work on everything because we're doing therapy, right? So manic disorders, bipolar, OCD, all of that is more severe diagnosis. You have to go to a therapist. But when it comes to marital, you know, that could be done in coaching. You don't need to go to therapists, right? When it comes to like anxiety, like, okay, anxiety management, stress management, parent coaching, we do a lot of parent coaching, helping parents with their children. When it comes to premarital, that all could be done in coaching.
Yeah.
But people don't know what coaching is.
But has there ever been like a situation where you're doing like some marital counseling and you had to pull aside the guy or the girl and say, hey, that chick's crazy. Like, you need to, I got to send you.
Stay away from that one.
You got to send them, refer them to some other person, a specialist.
No, but I mean, we are specialists at the end of the day.
No,
right?
in terms of like mental health. Like,
mental health.
yeah. Like this person's truly.
Oh, like they have like
bipolar.
Like you could be like, hey, that can be a problem for you.
There's a lot of bipolar women, by the way.
Oh, there's bipolar men, bipolar women. I mean,
where are you laughing, Sheikh?
Because I know you very well. The face you made was a very interesting face. Anyways, never mind.
No, I mean,
enough of the inside jokes.
But yeah, I mean, like, there are some situations where it was not marital. They came in thinking that, okay, we could solve this as a couple, but the real issue was that the person needed to be on their medications, right? They needed individual help. You know, you could only do so much in marital at a certain point. At that point, you know, they need to get their own life together in order to fix.
Yeah, but I'm saying, would you tell someone like, hey, man, that sister's a little crazy. Like, you got to watch out if you don't get help.
Yeah, like
no, because it's real, right? Like
as a coach,
as a therapist, you can pick up on certain things. Like, hey,
yeah,
she
but
trying to beat you.
I don't think
trying to beat you up.
Look, people who are in this field, it's not their nature to probably say it like that.
Crazy.
No, not like that. I'm just being rough on it. I'm saying, but like to tell a dude, hey, pump the brakes. Like she might beat you up later on. You know what I mean? Like pump the brakes. I mean,
so there are times.
Huddles. You're talking about huddles, having huddles.
There are times where you have to call like a timeout and separate the couple, right? And you have to tell them, like, you have to be real and be like, okay, this is a little bit childish right now. Right, when you're insulting each other, throwing names and so forth. But you also have to use hikmah as well. You can't, you know, you're there to be a calming presence. Now, if I'm getting riled up and I'm, you know, screaming at them and all of that, then what makes me different than them, right?
Yeah,
that's where our training comes in.
Yeah,
you know, this is where we're trained to do.
Have you ever seen while you were, I always want to know this, when you were counseling, where the couple got physical with each other?
Like a body slam?
Not in the sessions. I mean, we've heard couples get physical outside of the sessions all the time, but not in the sessions.
Like outside in the parking lot?
No.
I've never seen it where they got physical with each other, like personally. So I mean,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, because
Alhamdulillah, yeah, because
you'd have to call cops, you'd have to do a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
different
yeah.
things,
You
right?
probably have to report that.
Yeah,
yeah,
because we're mandated
yeah,
reporters,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but so I'm curious though, what percentage of men who come in and do they complain about like finances, like being
Oh, finances are one of the biggest reasons. I think I don't know if I skipped that or whatever, but that's one of the main reasons for divorces, right?
because you know what I mentioned it because I think a lot of women,
I didn't know
unfortunately, who tend to be like, let's say you're from a religious background, you're marrying a religious girl, and like your expectation that she doesn't work, right, and you can kind of provide things. Sometimes they've been treated like princesses in their house, right? Like the dad gets them everything, whatever, and they expect that the husband's gonna be like the dad, right? Like just whatever you want, and they don't have a concept of how much things cost because they don't go out and earn money, right? So the guy probably wants to make his wife happy, but at the same time, right? It's kind of hard to say. When you say no, they get upset and they take it like you're being mean. You know what I mean? Because they don't understand these things, right?
Is it
And the man
actually
gets
that simple?
frustrated.
Is it actually that simple sometimes?
I mean, look,
No, it's not that simple.
That
I'm
seems
giving you an
very like
example.
that's no. I'm not saying that's wrong.
No, I'm
I'm
giving you an
saying
example that like sometimes the disconnect between what it takes to earn money and spending money, and the husband gets frustrated.
you are right about that, right? Because look, not everybody has financial literacy. Not everybody was like, even my dad is a doctor, alhamdulillah. He didn't teach us all of this when we were growing up because I mean, it was just like, okay, he gave us money, right? I had to learn all that by myself, what it takes to raise a household, how much to spend on gas bills, light bills, all these like different bills that I had, and I wish my dad taught me that when I was younger. Like, like some of these maimans, they teach their children like business when they're very young, right? I mean, they're more set and ready when they are married. And so now if you get a woman or if you get a man that doesn't know how to like save their finances, right? Save their money. I mean, you see a lot of NBA players making millions of dollars going broke. How do they go broke when you're making millions of dollars? So the same thing over here. You get a woman, right? She does not know what it takes. And now like they're just swiping the credit card like and so forth. And your money just doesn't grow on trees, as like the famous saying. And now this is causing a lot of problems, right? Because you're making the money, but you're not seeing anything in your bank account. So one of the best advices that I got when I was getting married was that give your wife, like if she's not working, an allowance.
Yeah.
Right? Give her X amount of money that you agree upon that, okay, this is what you could do, whatever you want. I'm not going to say it. You could do whatever you want with it. Buy shoes, go to the nail salon, whatever it is that you want to do. But this is your amount. Now, you as men have to handle your budget, right? You have to take care of everything. So like in our household, my wife didn't work for a long time, right? So I gave my wife a budget. I told her this is what you need to do. This is how much I could afford. And if you want to live a certain lifestyle, you got to let me handle this, right? So alhamdulillah, with that, she understood. Now, I was lucky in the sense that she let me be who I am and be a man, right? And everything. Not everybody is as lucky, right? But it's all.
There's also another phenomenon with women that have a dad who was wealthy, who didn't have to, make their mom work, and there's a disrespect that kind of girl has for her husband, where she is having to be forced to work in order to get everything that she wants, meaning like big house, 2 cars, and everything that everyone else has,
Yeah.
So there's like a deep sense of resentment that kind of builds up among these.
But
type
why
of
is she
women.
having to work? Because she wants a certain lifestyle.
Because she wants that kind of lifestyle.
Okay,
So
that's what you mean.
she, even though her husband might make decent money, it's not enough. Like
the lifestyle that he wants,
the way her dad provided for their family.
Kind of like what you said. Kind of.
Yeah.
But this is a little added.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's like
different,
because
right.
she's now raising kids and working, they're brewing resentment and vitriol in their heart because they look at this guy as a constant reminder every day where she has to work and not spend time with her kids and be a source of pain.
So I want to circle
respect.
back a little bit, right? Of what he said about putting the woman on a pedestal. And I think this is a big problem nowadays, is that our parents might have struggled a lot coming from India, Pakistan, wherever, coming to America, and they don't want their children to struggle. Now, I have 2 daughters myself. A lot of times we're a little bit easier on our daughters than our sons. And they see that. My son has called me out plenty of times on that, right? But I think we're doing a disservice to our women, to our girls, because the thing is now we're like, I remember one woman was telling me that her dad fills up her gas tank. Her dad does everything for her so she doesn't have to do anything. Now, when she's married, she's expecting that exact same thing from her husband. And when she's not getting that because she's at a pedestal that her dad put her on, now, okay, you know what? I'm not happy with my husband. He doesn't live up to my expectations or so forth. And all these marital issues are happening. So we're doing a little bit of disservice of trying to put our daughters on this pedestal. I mean, I get it. They're our loves. We love them. We care for them. Everything. But they also have to learn reality of life as well, right? Rejection and going through in hardships and everything. Yeah. You know, and you know when they don't get what they want as well, you know, it causes a little bit of problems. I'm not trying to blame women totally, but I'm just trying to let you know a little bit about
I think
you just don't want them to be set up.
No,
I
think it's perfectly fine for a father to spoil his daughter, right? As long as he's teaching her that this doesn't always happen.
I was just gonna say that,
right?
Yes.
Because like you have to know that when you're married, your life transitions. Now you have responsibilities, right? You were my daughter, and I don't mind spoiling you because you were my responsibility. Yeah. Now, when you got married, you have your responsibilities. So this life is something that is enjoy your youth, enjoy your time with me, because this is the benefit of having parents. Alhamdulillah, right? They spend on you, they love you unconditionally. This love in a marriage is not unconditional.
But
right?
see, that conversation is not happening afterwards. Yeah. The father is not telling the daughter, now you have to listen to your husband.
Communication.
Now, the communication. They're not telling them. I'll tell you a story what happened. Now, it wasn't a client or anything, but it happened with a scholar that I know. So he was married to a girl. She's an Aalimiyah. Her dad was like a mufti. Her brother was a mufti. Or her dad was a Maulana. Her dad was a mufti. He wasn't giving enough time because, you know, masjid responsibilities, right? Her parents wanted her to come back, like spend time and so forth. They got into a little fight, you know, or the husband and wife. The brother and the father came and picked up the woman and said, you're coming back with us. For 2 years.
Jeez.
2 years. The Maulana was not able to see his his wife and his children for 2 years, right? Because now what's happening is that you put them on her pedestal. She's expecting all of these things. The life is hard. I mean, as a chick, right? You know it. I mean, it's
outside, but the same thing you talk about. It's outside forces actually causing this.
Outside
even legally, Sharia-wise, the father still cannot take the wife away from the husband unless if she's being physically abusive
beaten
and all that kind of stuff. That anyone could do that. Any Muslim can do that for that woman, or for anybody in that house that's being abused. But the thing is that it's best practice that we know from the Sharia, from the Hadith, that even if the father wants to visit the house, meaning the wife's father, she should just inform the husband and ask permission, right? And there's many reasons for that, right? It has nothing to do with being over authoritative and chauvinistic or anything like that, right? But that communication has to take place, like you said, Mort, that you have to inform your daughters that, look, this is the way we raise you because we love you in a certain way. Your husband may not know, or your husband is probably not going to be this type of generosity. He's going to show generosity differently. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to do it exactly the way we do. He'll show it differently, right? And I think that's a very important communication to have, right? And like you said about the daughters and the boys, you're very true. You're very right. Like my daughter, my oldest is a daughter. Outwardly, it seems very, very clear that I treat her very differently than I do because she listens to everything. She never asks why. She just does it. The boys, on the other hand, from a young age, I told my son from like last year, I was like, listen, there's going to be a day where I'm not here and you're going to be responsible for your family, right? Which is why sometimes I'm going to ask you to do things in a certain way that I'm not going to ask your sister, right?
Exactly.
What do you say?
Huh? Nothing. He says okay. He's a good boy, all right. He's not like you when you're a little butt much. But I even told him, look, we named you after a leader. Your name means leadership, but you're actually going to have to look after your mother one day if I'm not here, and your sisters. Yeah. Right. You guys can take care of yourself, but you're going to be my Khalifa. but it's reality though. You have to let boys from a young age, let them know that, but you have to tell them with grace.
Hey, Khalifa was the last episode, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you know what's funny though? I think men do that a lot, they don't do it to the daughters.
Yeah.
Right? They prepare the men and say, hey, look, you see how things are running. This is how. And plus, also, even if they don't say it, boys look up to the father and see it happening, right? They see the guy going out to work, they see him paying bills, they see him doing things, so they naturally have this thing. So I think that's why it has to be more work with the women to help them, or the daughters to help them transition and recognize that. Because if they think that marriage is just passing on your father's responsibility onto your husband, it's a big problem. Right? Because I can't, number one, I'm not going to coddle you like your father does, right? I'm not going to spend on you like your father does. Not that we don't want to, but it's just, maybe we don't have the means, or
It's
maybe
a different dynamic.
It's a different dynamic.
And there's more accountability for us, right? Like, we're thinking long term. Like, for your father, he's probably raised you, and he knows I just have to hold you for a few more years, and you're on your own, right? Like, for us, we have to think about now our children, our retirement, our other things, right? And the things that, like, things that they think is normal, like, oh, my father would take vacations, or we would do this, right? That's fine, but you're not planning your own, your own nest egg or your own life now, right? And I think that's one thing fathers are doing a disservice in, and they're not preparing their daughters to be mothers and wives. And if they can't do that, don't expect their marriage to last, because they're going to come back and complain and tell you, I hate this, because this is not what they're expecting. And I think I would say the same about sons, but the problem is, I just think that there's, like I said, they have a better example. It's already kind of there, so it's less work required, but it's more for the daughters.
That's a great observation.
We're not preparing our children for marriage. Most divorces happen between 1 to 3 years, right? The first 3 years is when most of the divorces are happening, and lately I've been hearing within the first year, it's happening a lot. So they're coming in to marriage not knowing what to expect, or not knowing what to do, or how marriage operates, right? Which parent actually sits down with their child and speaks with them, right? And tells them what the roles, responsibilities, how to make a marriage last, and so forth.
You're right.
And then all of a sudden, bam, it ends.
Like, you get training for everything, but the huge change that you're gonna happen in your life, no training whatsoever. Is, hey, go ahead,
I tell
do it.
everybody you need premarital coaching, at least, And that's a plug-in for us as well.
Yeah, of course.
Because we do it, but I'm just saying, like, you need that. I mean, like I said, 6 couples came through us and said no. They realized afterwards, yeah, this is not the right person for me. Now we saved them a lot of money.
That's important.
And a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
Wait, walk us through that though. So pick one of those couples out of the 6.
Yeah.
And tell us
I'll tell you.
about how it broke apart.
That's great.
How you broke apart the relationship.
Wait. I want to clarify this. I didn't break it up. I don't break it up. I saved them.
They broke it up.
They broke it up themselves. Okay, I'll give you an example.
them from.
We'll see.
So, okay, the guy.
Let's check up on those couples 10 years from now.
If
If they're alone and lonely, it's all your fault, bro.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
All right, the guy was a little bit more religiously minded, right? He was more religiously minded. The woman, she experienced more in the sense that, her parents were a little bit more liberal, right? And now their parents were the ones that hooked them up. They said that, okay, I got a daughter, you have a son, let's get them married. We already like each other. Let's do it. So when
The parents like each other.
No, the parents liked each other, right? They were family friends.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, you have a son, I got a daughter.
Exactly. Yes.
Let's get them married. It'll be perfect." They met already. They were like, "Yeah, we talked. We liked each other." So when they came in the first session, and this happens all the time, they're like, "Yeah, we already talked about everything. We're just doing it because
they did.
Yeah, we're just doing it because our imam told us to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Our imam told us to get it done, so we're just doing it. But we're for sure getting married. So I don't fight anybody. I'm like, okay, let's just get through it.
Yeah.
At the end, maybe inshallah it works, and then you learn more from our sessions, right? And so forth. So we start going through our list of questions that we talked about. We go through all the different categories. We go through abuse, right? What to do during, like, if you were mentally, physically, verbally abused, how would you handle that? Would you allow other people to get in your marriage?
Yeah.
Religion. We talk about kids. We talk about expectations. We talk about finances. We talk about all different subjects.
Sorry, so along the same line, do you guys have like a questionnaire that you give them to or something to fill out?
What we do is we're watching their body language, because 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
So I'm looking how you respond. I want to see your facial expressions. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm watching both of you. I'm writing notes down. On our second and third sessions, they're alone. And that's when I'm asking you these questions. Like, I noticed this, I noticed that, and so forth. So depending on your questions, your answers, we're going to ask you certain questions.
Got it.
So finding triggers.
Yeah.
Right. But so this is, to be honest, I think, we did hit a home run on talking about how to prepare your daughters. I think on the flip side, though, I think a lot of ways that when men get in a marriage, even though they see how a marriage is, like, they also have to understand that their wife is not like their mother or like their sister, right? Like, you have to show a different side to them, right? And like you said, simp to to be a pimp. You said
no, simp to pimp. Sometimes you gotta
Something
simp.
about simp.
I don't know.
I heard something
what
about
I'm saying
simp.
though, no, what I'm saying is that like you have to do things that you normally don't want to do, right? I mean, like like for example, me and someone talked about this before, but like sometimes women tend to repeat stories. Right? Like we've already known, like we know it, right? But we got to hear it over and over again. And generally, if you were to say to me, like, I'm going to shut up,
Yeah.
like, get over it. Like
That's what we're used to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes you treat them like because you get used to just them being
you become
around.
friends,
So you're like,
yeah.
you're talking about this again? You know what I mean? But you have to kind of suppress that and be conscious. Because sometimes I do it too, right? I'm like, oh, you can see it. You guys know me. I'm visibly, and sometimes I get visibly annoyed, right? You can tell, right? And I have to be mindful of that because it's not the same relationship.
Yeah.
And I think men need to be, when you're getting into marriage, you have to understand that those are things that make her resent you or dislike or not want to talk to you, right? Because you're accommodating. Well, yeah, I know it's annoying, but that's part of it, right? Like it's.
So most couples wait 6 years before they even see a coach or a therapist or anybody. By 6 years, how much resentment has built up already? You're almost at the end of it. So I tell people you can't wait that long. It's like car maintenance, right? If you wait so long to go see a mechanic, get oil change, get your tires rotated, all of that, the car might drive, but it's eventually going to break down.
Yeah.
Right? You got to constantly do it every year or 3 months or whatever it is, talk to your mechanic. And so forth. So the same thing with over here in marital. You got to keep like fixing the issues as they arise. Don't wait. A lot of people don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're like, all right, at least it's working somehow. Let's just keep coasting. But they don't know that they're only making it worse. And I do. Man, I lost my train of thought. But
So let me ask you this though. Like I can imagine it's happening for men. Like, if a woman, because women tend, I think, I could be wrong here, but they tend to be more open to therapy, right?
Yes.
Men tend to be like, what the hell are you talking about? I got to let somebody else on the outside hear my business, right? So do you have this pushback from men who come in just like, I don't want to do this at all? Like,
what's funny actually is that there's not many men in this field, first of all.
Yeah, I heard.
Right? Even at Khalil Center, mashallah, they're doing an amazing job. Shout out to them. Is that how many men are there? How many women are there?
Yeah.
Right? There's a very few men in this field. And even I'm in this Muslim mental health group. There's very few men across the U.S. that are doing this work, right? Most people are doing it part-time or whatever, like we talked about. So a lot of men, I think, are seeking this now. They're more open to it. I'm getting, like, yes, there's more women that are, I would say it's like more 60-40. 60% of women are open to it, but more men are actually coming to me as well. So I'm seeing an influx of men. Like I was at ISNA and I had a booth over there. And mashallah, I mean, like a lot of men just started coming up and started talking to me about mental health issues. And, mashallah, it was really good for us that they signed up. I mean, good for them too, because now we could help them as well. So I think that that whole taboo about it, yes, more women are still doing this, but I think they're more accepting now.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I think here's I guess I'm trying to put myself in the shoe, right? And be like, yo, if my wife said, hey, you know what, we're going to go see a therapist, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, who is this dude? Like, how long have you been talking to him? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing that would, I mean, like, how did you find out? How long you been researching this? Like, what's in your, like, you're thinking like, we have a problem? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
because you don't feel that there's a problem.
yeah, and a man,
you feel like she's ratting on you.
yeah, like you feel like, oh my God, you talk to someone else about me? Like,
Yeah.
you feel like it's distrust sometimes, right? And it's like, and it may not even be that. Maybe she's just suggesting it, right? Yeah. But men tend to be in the defensive because we're very protective of women in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you always taught, don't air your dirty laundry, right? Yeah. And now you have to be with someone, and have to do that. And naturally, men tend. And I'll give you an example. Like, theoretically speaking, when men encounter other men, especially when another man is open game to critique him, right? They might think that, right? Your defense is up and you're ready to throw hands, right? Because you're like, oh, this guy's trying to encroach on my space, right? He's trying to show dominance over me now. So it's natural for a man to try to push back and be like, well, I'm gonna listen to anything you're saying. You're just trying to be. You're just
But
trying to be
more,
direct.
just to be fair, I think that's a situation. If a marriage, there's no abuse in it, there's no like name calling. It seems like a good marriage. Like this dude thinks, okay, this is a really good marriage. Why is she wanting to get counseling now? So I think in that situation, yeah, dude would be like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, we don't need counseling. What do you? But if it's like obviously there's abuse and stuff, like he just doesn't want to go because he knows.
But what
that-
if he's embarrassed about it?
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
So it's kind of like because you are gonna get into into like your laundry, right?
Yeah.
You are gonna get into it.
Yeah, of course.
And generally speaking, people, especially men, it's different when you have someone else now giving, they almost see it like an authority. Like, I'm giving him the right to judge over what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And a lot of men have a problem with that.
But see, that's where an experienced person has to come in,
Yeah.
right? Because you said judged. Nobody wants to be judged, and if you're taking sides, you're feeling like you're being judged at that point, and that's where a lot of people fail when they're doing this work. And I've heard this from a lot of couples why they stopped going to other people, either imams or other marital couples, because they felt like they were being judged. And you have to be on top of your game.
Yeah.
You have to be attentive. You have to build their trust. You got to be non-judgmental, and you got to build that rapport.
It requires a certain type of personality.
Yeah,
too.
it does.
Definitely requires a certain personality, and it requires a lot of patience, because a lot of times, like one of my friends was telling me, that he has to get counseling because the amount of people that he sees for counseling, he actually has to. It affects your life. It affects your marriage life. It affects everything. So you got to be on your it requires a certain type of person.
Farhan, does that affect you?
Alhamdulillah, it doesn't. I'll be honest with you, right?
You haven't heard enough horror stories?
No.
I can give you some.
I have. But see, the thing is, like, I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me with the personality that I could leave it at the door.
Yeah.
Right? You see a lot of cops, they can't do that. That's why cops have a high divorce rate. Right? And you see all those like things where they're like constantly trying to find the bad guy or whatever, or they can't let go of their cases. Alhamdulillah, like when I end a case, like when I'm done with the session, I could go detach.
You can compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
So, but I have a question. So, what would you advise? Like, let's say a brother finds himself in a position where his wife wants counseling, right? Or maybe in this case, even a sister, right? And how would you tell them to? Because let's say it's their first time doing anything like this,
question.
right? What would you like? How would you try to calm their nerves? What would you, if you could speak to them now, like and tell them like what to expect, what it's gonna feel like, and what not to think about it?
So recently, what happened was that a brother came in, or a brother called me up, right? He's like, I want counseling, or I want coaching, marital coaching, but my wife doesn't want it. So what I told him was, I said that, okay, this is how you convince her. You tell her that we've been married for X amount of years. I want to better the relationship. I want to be a better husband for you, right? So you take the blame, right? Now, if my wife's coming to me and saying all these things that I want to be a better wife for you, that's why I want to go to all of these things. Now I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'll go with you because now you're going to get the help, right? The issue is you. I'll go in there, and that's how you lure them in, right? So you never come in saying that you're the problem. You're the thing.
Man, you gave away the secret, bro.
I mean, look, we
gotta get used it.
I mean,
I got you guys. You see, I got you. No,
no, but I mean, like, we have to, like, what people need to realize is that there's nothing wrong with seeing somebody, right? Like, I would have loved, that's the reason why I went in this field in the first place. When I was 17 years old, my parents are going through a divorce. I would have loved to see somebody. Right? I mean, it affected me. I'm not going to lie with you.
Of course.
My parents are divorced. I mean, they've been married for like 25 years and then life was crumbling. Yeah. I mean, now at that point, I don't even feel like I have family from either side. Felt alone.
Yeah.
When Eid came, it was the worst time because it's like, okay, do I go to this side of the family? Do I go to that side of the family?
Never thought
you
of
never
they resent
think
each other, right? Yeah.
But even then, my cousins were...
It's too confusing for a child, bro.
Yeah.
But even my cousins were different with me. Right?
Wow.
Because they didn't know, should we invite him or should we not invite him?
Yeah.
Because does he have to go to his mom's side or his dad's side? Right?
Wow.
So it gets very complicated,
that's
really messy.
really confusing for a teenager,
right?
bro.
And you're 17 and you're thinking like, man, what am I going to do? Like, you feel alone in this world at that point. Because then when your parents get remarried, they're very focused on their own marriages, right? They have to make that marriage work because the second marriage has a higher rate of divorce. A high percentage of like getting divorced in the first one, right? Because you've already felt it, how it is. So now you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you probably haven't even worked through all the trauma or everything that happened in the marriage.
Wow, you bring
right?
that all here.
And now you bring it in, the baggage. So now you're a child and your parents are remarried and they're, trying to figure out their marriage, and maybe they bring in kids from their own marriages as well.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, what do I do?
So let's talk about this for a second. Wow. So I hear this word trauma all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
bro,
we overlook it.
Mort's never experienced trauma.
Whenever Mort thinks of trauma, he just thinks of like the ambulance.
Can you let me speak?
He thinks a B word.
This is trauma right now. Let me speak, bro. Listen.
Sorry, don't mean to give you trauma.
Yeah. I'm saying though, look, okay, so I'll be honest with you. When I look back at my life, I don't see any trauma. So can you help me? Like, let's explain. I'm thinking there's a lot of guys like me who think like this, right? What do you call it, trauma? So can you, let's go through the exercise.
Yeah. I'll tell you a traumatic
Let's find my trauma.
No, I'll tell you a traumatic experience. Like, give you an example, right? I was in a car one time with one of my cousin's husband. He's driving really fast on 294. He told me beforehand his brakes were not good. I'm thinking, like, you're telling me your brakes are not good. Your car is a beaten up car, and you're driving 90 miles per hour on 294, right? So all of a sudden, what happens? Traffic stops. He hits his brakes. The brakes are not working. He crashes into the median. We fly across 4 lanes, right? And subhanAllah, I don't know how this happened. It just opened up for some reason. I turn to my right, and a truck stops this close to my face.
SubhanAllah.
This close to my face.
Yeah.
Now, I was with some friends last week. We're driving in a different country. We're on a vacation, right?
Which country?
We were in Costa Rica. Right?
I was about to go there, but I went to Mexico instead.
Yeah. So we were there we have a friends group. We just go to different places, different countries.
Is it a guys trip only, or you take the whole family?
No, guys trip.
You go to It's a guy
Hell
trip.
yeah.
When you go to Costa Rica, you don't go with it.
No.
He's going for different
I don't like to
reasons
say
than
I went
you.
to Costa Rica because I know what everybody thinks.
Yeah, he's going for different reasons.
Yeah.
A-hole.
Nothing like
He's
that.
a nice guy.
We
He went to
like
the
that.
monkeys in the rainforest and zip lining.
We heard some crazy monkeys out there.
Yeah, he told you.
We went white river rafting. We went
Yeah.
ATVing.
Of course.
like cloud thing.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what happened. So the guy's driving down the street.
Yeah.
Right? Now, those streets, those roads over there are crazy. All windy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you fall, like, you're really close to the edge of the cliff. You could
Oh,
fall
I
over.
hate those roads, bro.
You
I
could
hate the
fall
Mexican cliff
over
roads.
and you can, like, literally, you make one wrong turn, the guy, and they have no lights, no street lights out there. Okay? So it's like 12 o'clock. We're coming back from doing all our activities, and or not maybe that late, but early in the day. But it gets dark at 5 p.m. over there right now. We didn't think of that when we went there. So we're coming back, and I'm freaking out because I'm trying to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden I just feel turns. I'm thinking, oh my God, we're gonna get into an accident. We're gonna do something. That's because I'm remembering what happened before.
Yeah.
I'm remembering my car accident, like that car accident where that guy was driving. That's why I like to be in the driver's seat, because I can slow down. I'm not going fast, and everything. Now this guy's speeding. This guy's going a little bit fast. He's like, don't worry, I got it. I'm a professional. Everybody's like, all right, you know what? He's good at it. And I'm thinking in my head, like, man, we could literally die here, right? So it's a traumatic experience. Like, that's what trauma is.
Yeah, but how does it affect you?
Because you're affected. Like, let's say that
He always likes to be the driver now.
No, but you're also avoiding certain places, right? Like, so if you avoid a certain street or you avoid certain people because you get triggered at that moment.
Let's say more. Give you a more real example.
Yeah.
So you have you go through an extremely difficult divorce, right?
Yeah.
You have a insanely crazy experience where a lot of stress was involved and stuff like that. Then getting into another relationship after that, it brings up all the similar emotions. Can I trust this girl? What if this happens? What if that happens? And that in itself, that previous experience related to a failed relationship transfers into or bleeds into a new relationship that would otherwise be completely healthy and fine, but because you've been so scarred by your previous relationship, you can't have that same healthy.
Yeah, it even affect the communication, because you're like, I can't tell them this much information because they're probably going to use it against me later. So even the relationship that you have is very.
Is that like just being cautious?
Very stressful.
Or as soon as your wife lies to you or her husband lies to you, you're like, oh, this is what my ex did to me, right? And now you're judging them based upon the person.
So it's not like I know what Mort's thinking. I think
Like for
trauma. Well, when you hear the word trauma, you're thinking ER, right? You're thinking
no. I'm saying the way I hear it is I feel like that someone can't function no more. Like it just freaking out all the time.
They can
right?
function, but in certain situations
And
they
I'm
can't
like,
function.
for me, like maybe it's in my mind, like I just let stuff go. I'm like, yo, man, is that person?
Oh
right?
no, I don't.
Oh,
I'm completely the
So maybe
opposite.
that's why
I
I
hold
can't
on to
relate.
every bit of pain that anyone
Oh,
has
not
ever
me,
caused
bro.
me, and
I'm like, yo,
and that,
you know how I
that
look at
causes
it?
me to use it as fuel
Oh, okay.
to
No,
further advance
see,
myself.
For me, my mind is like, yo, the past is the past. I'm looking to the future. Like, I mean, I don't really care about the past too much, right? Because even now, I mean, that's kind of my whole motto. Like, you know, I can't change the past, bro. Right? I just want to keep moving. I'm on this race
But
course.
see,
bro.
you have a positive mindset, mashallah. Not everybody has that. A
Yeah, I
lot of
think that's what
people
it
look
is.
at it.
My
like
wife
the
thinks you're too
glass half
positive.
empty.
Yeah, no.
Right.
We call it, what do you call it? Chikna gada. You know what chikna
Yeah,
gada
I'm
is?
just saying. I'm not a no, I don't know what that is, but listen, bro. I'm just going. I'm running fast forward, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm just running straight
Yeah.
ahead, and I look at it like, see, this is how I look at it, man. In my mind, life is a whole. It's a road.
Yeah.
And there's a whole. I have a destination I'm trying to get to. Those are my goals, right? I want to have X amount of money. I want to have like X amount of house. I want to have this kind of whatever family. And there's gonna be detours and bumps and road bumps.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop at the roadblock and just wait for that to clear up, right? I'm gonna find my happy ass around the way, you know, and get away.
See,
Get where I gotta go.
I'm the same way more, but I use those experiences, those painful experiences in my life. I'll forgive the person or whatever, but I remember and I harness and I cherish every single moment, every slight, every glance, every
So you hold grudges?
every moment.
Really?
Yeah,
I wouldn't-
oh yeah.
oh, okay.
But I don't. I hold the grudge in my heart towards myself. Like I'm like, you gotta move forward to that goal. Use those
that as
negative
fuel.
experiences
Yeah.
to propel yourself to your destination.
Yeah.
I think I failed so much that failure it doesn't bother me.
No, it helps. Dude, failure.
What I'm saying is that I've experienced that failing and that
failure,
sad
people-
feeling
Dude,
so
that's
much
how all the
that I'm
successful,
numb to it. You know what I mean?
successful people in the world actually fail the most, bro.
And I tell
Look
people,
at their stories.
no, that's true, right? You can't grow if everything's going good,
you
right? You
have to
only
fail to
grow
grow.
through failure.
Yeah.
You know, I failed a lot in my life, right? I could pinpoint my failures and be like, okay, because of that, this is where I am today.
Yeah.
Right. And that's same thing with a lot of people,
Hmm.
right? You have to fail in order to be successful. If you look at any of these like rich, like look at Bill Gates,
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, and all of them, they all failed at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Everyone
Nobody
does.
was successful automatically.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, yeah, I guess maybe that should be a theme of the next show. Be numb to failure. Yeah, no, you should. I mean, because a lot of times I think maybe that's why my personality is the way it is, right? Like some people, they may be affected by it more, and maybe it's just a personality type. But now I understand what you're saying. Is some people hold on to these things, and they can't. It affects the whole. Like they can't move past it.
Yeah. No,
Like-
and dude, if that's the case, you're actually very lucky too. Because look, some people are just designed the way they are. You could call it a weakness. You could call it the way they were created. Certain things affect them very, very heavily, and it debilitates them. Not all the time. So that's one thing about trauma. And I don't want to speak for you, but from what I understand about trauma and what I was taught about trauma is, they're not going to be debilitated all the time. It's in certain situations they're going to be completely debilitated. Like look, think about like social anxiety, right? Some people who develop a certain type of social anxiety.
I'm starting to feel bad now.
No, you
Because I
can.
think I caused people trauma.
Wow, did Mort just say he's
No,
really
no, I
bad?
feel like I listen. Okay, listen. I was that kid in the masjid that would like wait by the door and like go this, swing and hit him in the face,
Yeah,
or like
you were that
one of
kid.
your cousins walk up the stairs, and kick him down the stairs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was you.
And stuff. So like, I'm pretty sure that some guy has a fear of going up the stairs now.
No,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
There's a process, or there's a step in the 12-step process where you confront all the people you've done wrong.
should do that.
I think that's what Mort needs to do.
I'm sorry for breaking your glasses in the basketball game.
that wasn't me. That was my cousin, but that's fine.
No, it was you, wasn't it? And Moy came in and had to like have a talk with me. That was you, bro. You had the
That
plastic
probably was.
glasses.
Oh, yeah,
that was
yeah,
you, bro.
yeah,
I know. I saw
yeah,
your
that
face.
stuff doesn't give me trauma.
First time I saw your blue eye, the devil.
Well, one thing I do want to say is this, right? Is before you get
Can
back
we have a
into-
censor button for Mort, dude? Anyway, sorry, dude. Go ahead.
No, it's before anybody gets back into a marriage, they have to work on themselves.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what we do. A lot of post-divorce coaching, helping the person heal, and also realizing their mistakes as well, what they did to contribute, because it takes two to tango. Only then, if you get back, like you get remarried or anything, you're going to be successful. If you haven't worked through that, then you bring in the baggage, and now all of that is going to flare up again, come resurface, and then it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
think the
I'm
expectation.
sorry. 1 second. We gotta take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back after these messages. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Back.
You remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a long message.
That's a
We're waiting
long
here.
message. Yeah, okay.
Technical difficulty.
This episode is brought to you by Mecca Books, your source for traditional Islamic knowledge. It's where seekers of knowledge go to buy their books. Go directly to Mecca Books because they have a massive catalog that covers just about every topic from fiqh, Aqeedah, Hadith, Tasawwuf, and everything else in between. You can go to meccabooks.com/TMM and use the code TMM for a 10% discount.
And we're back. Sheikh, you were saying something and then I rudely interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I think two things.
Forgive me, inshallah.
No, don't worry, you're fine.
He's not traumatizing.
I think the first thing is that success in a marriage doesn't mean that your marriage is perfect, right? A lot of people think that if my marriage is perfect, that means everything's fine. Guys, look, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. There never will be a such thing as a perfect marriage. That's not for this world. That's for Jannah, bro. You know, there's nothing perfect in this world. So sometimes that's why there's that concept of us being patient with each other and just acclimating to becoming patient people and just understanding your partner, understanding your wife, and understanding your husband and all that cool stuff. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you mentioned, I think, is golden, man. You have to, if you've been through a traumatic relationship or you've been through a divorce, you know, what that weighs down upon you, you can't think the second marriage that you're going to get into is going to be a cure for the first one that you had.
No,
because that's never. You're just going to bring a lot of that in. A majority of people, I should say, are going to bring all that in. They can't think, all right, now I'm going to get the second marriage and everything's going to be fine. No, man.
So you know, I kind of look at it this way. I'm like, look, man, I maybe I could be wrong here, but because I'm older too, right? But like, I think when you're getting married, you have to look at what your common goals are and objectives are. Like, what do you want out of that marriage? And I think that kind of grounds you. So when you do have an issue, you go back to those common things, right? You're like, hey, this is what we wanted. This is why we got married.
But goals change. Goals change. People change. Personality changes. And now you're trying to go back to what you guys originally said, but the person doesn't want to go there anymore.
So what about the fundamental? Like, let's say, you know, we want to have that lifestyle. We want to grow in our religion together. You know, there's these common things of why you got married. And if those core things change, and you know that, like, for example, if they change, that means there's a downside in the marriage, right? Like, it's no longer something that you can see yourself being. These have to be the deal breakers, right? Like for example, if my wife would have stopped praying, right? This is something that it's going against the goal of us, hey, being united in good and growing together in deen, right? Now, if you stop, and it's going to cause problems, but then that goal is just, it's shattered, right? And I'm not saying every goal is like that, but I feel like that commonness has to be there. Like, you know what I mean? Something has to be the grounding you in this marriage. Yeah. It can't just be the love.
So I feel like that's a very extreme example, right? Like, that could happen. Right, the woman stops praying. But I'll give you a more practical example, right? Is the guy wants to become more religious. He wants to go to the masjid. He wants to start going for salah. He wants to start studying, right? But the wife is like, no, I need you at home. I need you. I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to go to the masjid with you for these lectures, or, you know, I don't want to study with you, because, you know, often you want your wife to do that with you, or your spouse to do that with you, I should say. I always tell couples is that if they're allowing you to do it and they don't want to do it, then count your blessings.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree. Well, why make a big deal out of it?
Yeah, why make a big deal out of it? Well, you don't need to get divorced. But that's a lot of guys and women. They're like, no, they're not on the same wavelength as me. They don't want to do these things with me.
So I think. Sorry to cut you off. I think it's not about goals.
Yeah.
I think that's why expectations are important. Because look, everyone actually, you know what? I think that we should tell people you should be somebody that's changing, and your goals should actually change multiple times if you need to, but it shouldn't be something really petty that you just hear one lecture and then you completely change your goals. Not that. It's like we should always be changing and evolving as human beings. And if that happens, like marriage is a ship, it's going to continue. Yeah, sometimes the course changes, but we're always going to be, but that's why Dean's important, right? But there's this course that's changing. But those expectations have to be there. I think that's what you're referring to. Because sometimes people, I see this, they talk about expectations and goals synonymously.
Yeah.
But what they actually mean is expectations. As long as you have these few expectations and you understand that those are our core values, then it should be fine. But look, dude, sometimes along the way, expectations change too, bro. Because like you talk about the guy who becomes religious now, for instance, right? He starts hanging out with some religious people, mashallah, or the girl starts, whatever the case is. And now the expectations that they originally had in marriage change now, right? Because of the religiosity.
So the way I look at this is like this. Like, I mean, like, look, in the example you gave, right? Like, if you're a man, you're qawwam. I mean, you have to lead by example. If it, qadar Allah, if it happens, but you gotta do it no matter what, right? So the way I look at it is like, to me, it's petty, right? You can't force someone to change overnight just because you're changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true.
Like, and so what I'm saying is like, but then again, that comes back to the goal, right? Like, hey, I'm doing this for myself and also for my family, right? Where I want my family to be more, at least for my children, and at least my household is gonna be this way.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if she pushes back and says, no, absolutely not, there's no religion in my house and blah blah blah, then you know what the breaking point is.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Course.
Yeah.
You know, like
sure.
when, like you said, the make it or break it. I always tell couples or a person before they get married, you need 3 to 5 things where you're like, I'm not going to compromise, right? Because once you have those 3 to 5 things, like for one person, it was, my mom has to live with me. She's alone. My father's not in the picture anymore. He's passed away. Where's my mom going to live? Now, if you're going through the whole process of marriage and now you're bringing this up and now you're like, oh, I really want to marry this girl, you're causing yourself heartaches and you're causing yourself own problems. You need to have that up front and let them know that this is what I need or this is what I want. And if you can't meet it, then we're just going to go our separate ways from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Save yourself the hassle and all.
You know what I like about the 3 to 5 thing too, because that means like, okay, he's meeting all of these. She'll probably end up, and he'll probably undermining everything else, that any shortcomings.
Because the most important, right? Yeah.
Because it's like, at least he's adhering to those. Yeah, whatever. So I think that's a thing of maturity. That's a really cool thing.
It goes back to the
3
hadith,
5
right? Like if you see something bad in your wife, you also see you look at the good that you see in her as well, right? Like you're gonna see the good that outweighs the bad, right? So if these are 5 major things that are heavy on the scale for you, then you're gonna overlook those shortcomings because you realize
that
that
advice, bro.
Yeah, it makes it kind, and that's kind of what I'm going back to. There's got to be the make it or break it things, right?
Yeah.
The things that you are uncompromising on, you both share or you both have understanding in that marriage, and you go back to those and you say, hey, this is why we got married. This is the thing that we got married for, right? And if we can't do that, then it's not working.
Yeah. And those are the people who joined the show late, and you're looking at our guest. Please don't be fooled. He's actually not 20 years old. He's actually speaking from experience.
33. 33. My birthday was a few days ago.
Can we call you the babyface therapist?
The babyface therapist.
Are you the babyface assassin?
I'm married for 13 years.
Mashallah.
Inshallah, that's awesome, man.
Tim, do you have any more controversial?
Well,
But you know one thing.
No, we're just getting started, bro. My next question was going to be.
Oh, wait, can I mention one thing
go
you
ahead.
said?
Yeah.
Is sometimes you got to make things worse before they get better. Right? And I tell couples that all the time. See, what happens is they have superficial relationships, right? You don't want to rock the boat. You're just saying things what you think the other person might like to hear, or just how to get by. But that's not a real relationship. There's no real emotion in there. And like, what kind of thing? Like, think about you guys are like really good friends, right? You guys could tell each other's things on a deeper personal level than, let's say, me and you, because we don't know each other as well as these 3. That's how a wife, husband should be. Like, I should be able to say anything to my wife as long as I'm not insulting her or anything, and not have to worry about her judging me or her coming back and saying, what's wrong with you? How can you think like that? And alhamdulillah, like, we went through that whole process. It took us 4 years to understand one another, right? People don't take that much time to get to that point.
Yeah.
And now, alhamdulillah, I feel like I'm at that point where I could say whatever I want to say. And I know that my wife she might not agree with me,
But she's not take it that way.
she's not going to take that way. She knows who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get other couples to,
SubhanAllah.
right?
That's a great goal.
So I know you prepared some really big horror stories. So how many of them you got?
I didn't prepare a lot, man.
Okay, let's just start up. Let's just do a couple.
Okay. Is this
Story
some
number
table
1.
Stuff we don't know
Story time, s'mores.
Well, I mean, these are not clients I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be honest with you, because the real reason being is that people come to us and it's an amana, right? Yeah. Now, if I'm like airing their business out here and somebody hears it, then they're going to be like, oh, you know what? Why should I trust him?
Yeah.
So I got to be very careful on that. So I'm going to just...
It's similar to
put
like when I
disclaimer.
talk about stuff and then it's like a khatib uses that as material, So like, why?
Yeah.
That was an amana between me and you, and then now you use me as
And
a.
Why are you looking at me
blurts it
like that?
out. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying some imams do that. You confide in them, and then they're like, I was meeting a brother, and that's Friday khutbah. You're like,
Yeah,
wait,
that's
me. That's me.
but yeah, he's like, this brother was talking about it. Like, hey, bro.
Anyways,
But I mean,
go ahead.
what I would like to talk about is like some stories that I've heard, right? And why they happen. I think that's what people are really trying to figure out, is like the why behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear all this times like cheating, prostitution, drugs, right? Like, I mean, I remember this one guy, he told me that, you know, he was not sexually satisfied in his marriage. Now, this is not a client, right? This is just a guy that...
Just a friend.
Just a
Who
friend.
knows that you're in this?
Yeah, he knows that I'm in
you're-
this field. So he just came up to me one day and was like, listen, I just want to tell you. I'm like, I'm not, you know, this is not a confessional here, right? You don't need to confess. I'm not a priest, you know, and so forth. This is not Mo over here, right? And that episode,
Yeah.
I like
right?
that.
Bun B. I'm not Bun B over here, right? You know that was Bun B, right?
No,
Yeah, the rapper from Houston.
I don't listen to hip hop.
I don't listen to hip hop
I don't know
music
if you
anymore.
heard-
like,
I
for
listen to
13
music.
years.
I'm a musician, but
But I follow up with everything that's happening.
Good,
Like,
good.
we
have
were
to.
really big into rap back in the day,
Yeah.
right? Alhamdulillah, it's been 13 years, but now, like, I just like to follow up with, like, who's doing what,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that was Bun B in there, and Paul Wall was in there as well, and
Oh,
Mo. Anyways, that was a sidetrack. So that people just say things they feel like better and so forth. So he would tell me that, look, he goes to the South Side, picks up women, and, you know, he does his...
that's the worst place to pick up women.
Hold on,
dude.
dude.
Oh,
So
I
what do you
mean,
mean
West
picks up-
Side, South Side.
Not like he hits on, like, you mean like prostitution?
Prostitution.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, prostitution. Not like hitting on them. He knows where they go, how much to pay, picking them up, getting his needs fulfilled, and then he's coming back home, right? He's just trying to get a quickie and so forth. Now, I mean, what's happening nowadays is a lot of people, even men and women, are cheating,
Yeah.
right? There's a book by Alicia Walker. It's called The Secret Life of the Cheating Wife. Right, where she interviews about 20-something women and why they're cheating on their husbands. And a lot of times what they're saying is that they're doing it, and this is the weird part, right? They're doing it to remain in their marriages.
Yeah.
To remain faithful, or not faithful, but to remain happy in their marriages because they're not getting sexually satisfied enough. And I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot is sexual satisfaction. We say, oh, haya. You know, we can't talk about it. I remember one time we were at a seminar, marital seminar, and the sheikh was supposed to talk about sexual intimacy and what's permissible and what's not permissible. The whole 50 minutes, you know what he talked about? Intention.
Wow.
Intention. He did not feel comfortable talking about it. So why did you invite him? You know, like, I mean, he's a great sheikh, don't get me wrong. But I mean, this is what people want to hear about, what's permissible, what's not permissible. I knew a lady one time, her husband would complain. Her husband used to complain that, oh, you know what, the sex was boring. The sex life was very monotonous, right? Nothing was happening. He said that his wife, because she heard it from an alim or whatever, that, you know, you have to have a lot of hayat. So she would never get fully unclothed.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Right?
Yeah, that
now,
happens. I know exactly.
Yeah, you're not getting fully unclothed. And now, like...
That's all like Jews, bro, behind the sheet.
That's how
Right?
some, yeah.
Daisy girls, bro.
No, it's not Desi girls. There's some tariqas in Syria and stuff too that you ever like. I don't know what to call it.
I mean, look, I go ahead, but I get the concept, but it's
call
just,
it
I mean, I
that.
think as a man, like, that's just something that's depressing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I think anyone would be like, yo,
It is, as a man, right? It is depressing. Let's be honest. You're getting married, like, no, whether we want to admit it or not, what's the one reason why we get married?
One of the primary reasons.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's for marital relations.
Yeah.
To have sex.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're not even getting your... I mean, a lot of people are watching pornography.
Yeah.
A lot of men are watching
It has a lot
pornography.
to do with it too.
The Family and Youth Institute came out with a study recently. I don't know if you guys saw it. Like 67% of, or 72 or something like that, of men, Muslim guys, are watching pornography. 37% of women are watching pornography.
Yeah.
Right? You're watching all of these models and actors and actresses, perfect bodies, you know, all these jobs that get done on themselves. And, you know, they're doing all this things that you're only imagining that you're going to be doing with your spouse.
Yeah.
You're not getting done. Guess what you're going to resort to? You know, first of all, you shouldn't even watch pornography because that's going to ruin your marital relations with your wife or your husband because you're going to constantly compare. But, you know, this is what's happening. People are resorting to that because they're not getting their needs fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right? So what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. But then also, like, all these TV shows are, I ask people, do you watch Game of Thrones? Do you watch all of these things? I get it. People watch it. But, you know, everybody that I know always talks about the sex scenes in there, right? Khaleesi. I've never watched the show myself, but, like, I always hear the names. Khaleesi, this, that, and everything. I mean, what are you watching? You're watching, like, I don't know if you know who Courtney Kemp is.
who?
No.
Courtney Kemp.
No.
So she, you know the Power? You ever heard of the show Power?
No.
50 Cent, executive producer on that, right? 50 Cent was like
That was
person
your
I
jam
loved-
back in the day. Yeah.
Get Rich or Die Trying, right? I was when he came out, I was in ninth grade. I came from a private school to a high school with 8 kids when we graduated to a 1,500 like student body, right? So when I heard him, and I was like, man, I was only 5'2", 105 pounds, you know, and I was like, yo, I gotta make it. Right? So he's like, you know, you either get rich or you die trying.
Yeah.
So he was like my guy that I looked up to. So anyways, he made this show called Power. So Courtney Kemp was the producer or the writer or whatever on there. She goes over to Netflix. So she has this. She just recently went to Netflix. She said that on Netflix, the main 2 things is violence and sex. That's what sells, right? If you look at any show that moved over to Netflix, they always add that sexual intimacy and everything because
That makes
that's what's
sense.
gonna sell.
Cause that show Mo, it had some random sex scenes. We're like,
Random
what
sex
the hell,
scenes.
bro? Like, I don't know
Random
what we're
sex
talking
scenes.
about that. So it makes sense. In order for them to list it on their platform, they're saying, hey, we need to have a certain amount of sex scene, a certain amount of violence scene. Because he gets shot too. Remember the whole blood, all that stuff, right? So interesting.
Exactly.
a lot of sense,
So
yeah.
I mean, that's what people are looking for, because you know you're looking for what you're not doing, right? We're not violent people by nature, but everybody likes John Wick. Why? John Wick 4 is coming out because everybody loves to see shooting people getting shot.
Yeah.
Killed,
Or the
all that
mafia
stuff.
movies. Everyone loves
Mafia.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the mafia. Everybody loves gangster movies, right? And everything. Violence, sex, sexual scenes, because you're not probably doing what you want to do at home. So now you're seeing it on TV or wherever.
Yeah, man. I think there was a study, I can't remember what I read from, so don't like take my word for it. But the because you mentioned John Wick, and I think you can look this up. And maybe this wording like dopamine spikes with violent movies related to John Wick or something like that. And it's really interesting that you mentioned that, is because the dopamine spikes that people get from pornography and watching violence is very drug-like and very similar.
BDSM, right?
Is that what? Oh, you're right. That makes sense.
Combination.
Like 50 Shades of the Gray.
That never made sense to me though, man. Honestly, I don't know talk about this. Doesn't make sense to me. Cause man, I think about that stuff like someone getting beat up, someone getting stomped
That's
on,
disgusting,
like
yeah.
kicking you in the
But
nuts.
that's what scares
what
me
the
about
hell
that,
is
because
going on here, bro?
no, but I'll tell you why that's really scary, because I know that's very prevalent, and people don't make that correlation between that stuff and like rape. Because people that watch that stuff, you could imagine like
yeah. I mean, if you
like,
told,
it's
if someone
disgusting.
told me they like the BDSM, I'm gonna be like, yo,
dude,
you're
you're a
99.
potential freaking rapist, bro.
I'm like, you're 99% of rapists. Like, stay the hell away from the women in my
Well,
family.
sometimes
a-hole.
the guys they want it to be dominated over because they're like CEOs and stuff, and
Yeah, but-
they need because everyone's eating out of their hand the whole day, every day, 365. They need in a sexual. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying this is what the psychology
they're-
is.
they're
No,
want
I
their
get
spouse to be
psychology. I mean,
super
I know.
They want their wives to be dominant over them.
Yeah, see, the dominant part is one part. Like, let's say, meaning that if you want a wife to initiate it and like, fine, I can understand that part, right? Okay, but to the point where they're kicking you in the nuts or like waxing
That
you
stuff
or
is
beating you up or like,
weird,
whoa, put a ball in your mouth. Like, what are you
when I
talking
first heard about
bro?
that stuff, I was like, what the heck is wrong with you
Yeah,
people,
bro. So there's a story time here, and I'm gonna call you out. So when Sheikh Ahmed first came back to the country, no.
My kids are watching this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Never mind.
Wait, I don't think your kids should be watching this.
Yeah, why
Did you hear everything he's
Yo,
saying?
why would you watch
That's
it?
why I said, why are you talking like that?
Why,
Everyone watches
no, but
it.
why would you watch when I'm on the show?
Okay, maybe they're not watching it.
Especially with the title, like
I know.
I made the
What the hell
title
is wrong with
specifically
you?
like scary so that
It's okay, bro.
You
Parents
watch the
don't
Omar
complain.
Lee show?
It's okay as long as you talk about it gracefully. It's fine.
Okay, so Sheikh Ahmed was looking to buy something nice for his wife.
Anyway,
okay?
go to your story, bro. Go to your story,
I
bro.
would be
Go.
nice about it.
No. Go ahead. Go to your story.
Hold on, listen. I'm not gonna be anything detailed. But anyway, there's a store that had all the stuff, right? And no, but forget about all that. But he was shocked. Mashallah, he's had hayat. He's pure, and like he couldn't understand, and I couldn't explain this stuff. I'm like, what is? I mean, I didn't know what stuff he was describing because there's like crazy stuff these people do, like and like,
for sure.
and it's weird, and I get the whole idea of wanting to be dominated or whatever, right? Or maybe you want someone to initiate, right?
Yeah.
That can be normal, right? Because turning things up. It's not always me just chasing you, right?
Yeah.
Fine, I understand that, but this is like next level thing where if I see people doing that, like I'm like,
extreme
you're
painful.
borderline someone who's gonna like be a sexual aggressor. Like you're
Yeah.
going to like you can't control this animal side of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lack of self control.
Not self-control. Like, why is that there?
Yeah, like why is that like?
Well,
there's
what
something
happens
dark.
is that the normal sex or normal marital relations is not good enough anymore, right? You keep watching so much pornography. If you look up what is the number one search like thing that people watch. You know what it is? Well, I mean, I saw it like a couple of years ago, but the number one thing was mother having sex with son.
No way.
That was the number one
Wait,
thing.
it wasn't even like a friend. It was the
Mother and son.
incest.
Yeah, incest. And then in the top five was also brother and sister.
Are you serious?
Yeah, this is all from the statistics from Pornhub.
Get the hell.
Oh yeah, they publish it on. Yeah, they say what country, what the genre. I
mean, I don't even want to say the countries because you'll be like, no. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't think it's true, but 6 out of the top 8 were Muslim countries.
But you know what though?
I don't know how true that is.
But you know why I question that a little bit?
No,
because
that's been refuted.
Yeah, so that's been refuted.
Yeah, because we've all been to Muslim countries, right? And like the thing is, like they have a filter on everything, right? So even if you put in like something like Baywatch or something, not even like nudity, it's blocked, right? So I think someone using VPN like going through things, right? Like, and if you're using a VPN, you're not gonna know it's showing from Pakistan. I'm not saying they don't watch your stuff, right? But they do, I'm sure. But to that degree, there's no way that. Yeah.
I don't. Maybe those numbers are skewed, but the whole thing is like the top searches. You know what people are searching for.
Yeah, that's disturbing.
And even bestiality is up there.
You know what's crazy to me? I was doing, because someone was trying to attack Islam, so I was the Catholic guy, so I was trying to just, make fun of him. So I was looking at some stuff, right? Did you know that places like Denmark had bestiality until like 2015? You could go to a brothel and have whatever with and the way they justified it was as long as the animal doesn't feel pain. Right? I'm like, how do you know that? Right? Like,
how do you... so nice to care about the animal pain.
You're such a vegan advocate. PETA loves you, right? No, and but there are other things I saw as crazy. British males from Britain, are going to Serbia till this day now, and Czechoslovakia, Prague, where they can have intercourse with dogs and chickens, and they actually have it's a very low. I forgot the fee was, but it's called sexual tourism. And they will they have a price where they can even record you. So if you want a video of yourself doing it, you can have it all done. And whatever animal of your choice, whether it be like donkeys or chickens or dogs or whatever it may be, they do this. And it's weird. Like, it's almost like these people have this, like, they've been so, like, they're such deviants that they can no longer be aroused by just normal intimacy. Not even sodomy anymore. It's beyond the sodomites. Like, now they have to molest poor animals.
Wow,
this is how bad it's gotten.
So I want to bring this back a little bit. Right? I feel like we got him way out there. Like,
so story number 2.
Yeah. Shoot. What's story number 2? Well, I mean, you know what? Recently, so I've been hearing a lot about is swinging.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, swinging
among Muslims.
Around
religious people doing it?
Not really.
I mean, did they go to Islamic school? Yes.
No, the reason why I'm asking, right? The reason why I'm asking is because there's a particular community out in in a place out in the Northeast that had this happen. They appeared to be very religious, like on the manhaj and everything, and we knew they were wife swapping. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, let's continue.
Because I wasn't there. I mean, like, one of my friends, he was coming out after basketball session, and he overheard a few people talking about it, like swinging and stuff like that. Like, people always like say, hey, are you into it? Like, just trying to check you, like, see if you're into it or not into it and so forth. And he was like, man, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what do you, like, of course I'm not into it. But he was telling me, like, these guys that he knew that went to Islamic school. And because the thing is now is like, okay, you know what? I want to have sex with somebody else, but my wife won't allow me to. So the only way to do it is...
So it's like an equality thing?
Yeah. And
so if I can do it, you can do it too?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo. See, that's why we say we don't chase equality, we chase equity, baby.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, like...
But you know what, though? If someone's not religious, I don't put anything... I mean, what's off the table, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you don't care about your religion, right?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing is, like, a lot of these guys... I mean... I'm not going to say that they're not religious as well. They still pray. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they might not be your, like, Molvi type or, like, what you typically see as a religious, but they still have iman in their hearts, right? The biggest issue right now is that we're just giving into our desires.
Yeah, but not only that, hypersexuality.
Hypersexuality.
What we're living in.
Everywhere you go is sex.
Yeah.
You're checking out, everybody, like all the magazines. You're looking at the billboards. You're looking at your phone. You can't even go on Facebook.
And look, when you mentioned, think about 37% women or whatever percent of women that say, no, just to stay in the marriage, I'm having, like, look, you have to understand that women have a sexual drive too, right? Obviously, right? And some women obviously have a sexual drive stronger than their own partners and their own husbands, right?
They do.
And the thing is that they still actually want to stay in a relationship. They just want to be promiscuous, but not with their husband. Because the hypersexualization all around them, everyone, it's just celebrated. Sex is constantly celebrated everywhere. So obviously for them, it's open. It's open. It's like, dude, I just got to find somebody else, and it just got to keep it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's just hypersexualization, bro.
I think that's just the bottom line. Like right now, like you can't get away from it. Like if you, whatever app you're on, whatever thing you're on, and even it's in conversation. Like the stuff that like, there are parents who are talking about what they overheard conversations on, like, just children playing Xbox Live, right? With it may not even be their cousins, it may be other friends or other people that are in the game, and they use like sexually charged language.
Oh yes, it's just part of
like
all the vocabulary now.
Yeah, like for example, someone was telling me that, you know, someone had called her, you know, doing anything. Oh, that's gay. You're so gay, whatever, right? And they, what's wrong with being gay? Like, gay is great. You know, you want to meet up and about, like, there's going sexually lewd stuff about it, right? And they just become accustomed to this, and it's sad. It's sad, but the reality is they're being bombarded with this, and so ultimately, it's going to have an effect.
Yeah, man.
How many of your patients or clients have struggled with children who are think that they're gay?
I was going to ask that question too. Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of people don't come out, right? A lot of people hide it, especially as children, because they know already how their parents are going to react, and they don't want to make it worse for themselves. I've had a couple of people that actually found out that children might be on the fringe of it, right? And they called me up and wanted to talk to me. But at that point, like, I mean, what are you going to tell a child? It's like telling a person don't smoke. The person's going to smoke, right? You're telling a person don't do drugs. They're still going to do drugs. Do you
mean that they're homosexual and they're in relationships and everything and all that kind of stuff? So.
No, they're they're inclined to it. Maybe they're just feeling that they have attraction to males.
Well, so there's a difference. If they feel like they're inclined to it, I mean, even if they feel like they're inclined to it, most likely they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep going. I've rarely came across a person that told me that they're inclined to it that hasn't done anything, right? Or
won't next level
eventually do something. Right. I mean, this is same-sex attraction, right? And the thing is that I think there's you ever heard of Wahid Jensen?
Yeah.
You have to probably had
a life
struggle with straight.
Something with the rainbow, something like that. But he talks about his own struggles on there, right? And you need support. You need somebody. But he's at that point, right? Like he's actively looking to get help or help others and so forth. A lot of these kids, think about when we were younger, we thought we knew everything. If somebody told me, hey, don't do it, you're pushing me more towards it. If I'm telling you don't be gay or don't do homosexual activity, guess what you're going to do? You're going to do it, right?
So what's the best thing? I mean, for me, if I've had people come up to me and tell me like they have these inclinations, right? Like, I mean, I've had them.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can, obviously the knee-jerk reaction is like, you just want to like be like, what the hell's wrong with you, right? But I noticed that if they're coming to you, it's because they know there's something wrong.
Yeah.
They feel something that it's not
What did you say the
right.
brother's name was? No.
Wahid Jensen.
Wahid Jensen. Okay.
So
No.
Oh my God, you gotta catch me up.
No. I was talking about a straight struggle, or there's this one website Mustafa Omar referred people to called straightstruggle.com. It's like a Discord server run by a brother named Yusuf Salam.
Nice.
So if you guys have any issues related to genuine sexuality, there's this percentage of young people, Muslims or otherwise, who think it's fashionable to be gay, and they're struggling with that. Oh, well, maybe I'm gay. And I'm sure you might have come across those that demographic as well, where they might be questioning
man.
So what I try to do with these they come to me for advice is what I do is I just basically try to bring them closer to religion. Because when you hear the reminder, it's different than when I say, because if they're coming to you, they already believe in Allah.
Yeah.
They already believe in the Rasul.
They know what they're doing is wrong,
right?
or they're feeling wrong about something.
When the authority is reminding you, All you have to do is tell them, hey, let's pray some more. Let's read some more Quran.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of divert it. Say, okay, that's fine. You're struggling with this. I don't want to focus on that. But through the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran will speak to them.
Yeah.
The religion will speak to them.
Yeah.
And you bring with habits that then you begin to dislike the fawahish, or to abstain from it.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what
that
I've
this
seen
may
a
be a
lot?
fitna for you.
Is that a lot of these kids, they know what the Quran says. They know the story of Lut and everything. But now they start disbelieving because they're like, well, it's not aligned, right?
Yeah.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Religion is saying one thing, I feel another. Now I'd rather just be atheist, or I'd rather not believe at all.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't want the responsibility.
Because how, like, my beliefs don't align with, or my actions.
Why would God make me this way?
Yeah, why would God make me this way?
So I think with these kinds of people, there's always going to be, again, like that breaking point. Like, there's going to be people who are reminded of their fitrah, right? And,
Yeah.
and what I mean is that you don't want to just go over Qawm Lut with them, right? They already know that. They know that that's why they're coming to you. But the bottom line is seeing the wisdom and why Allah does certain things. Aside from just forget about the laws of sodomy and not other things in the religion. Because sometimes they can put two and two together and say, this way is perfect. But how come it's only me? And one of the brothers was like, when I was talking, alhamdulillah, he came out of it. But he was realizing it's wrong. I don't want to say came out. I don't know what that means exactly what he's doing now. But he's like, literally the only thing I have an issue with is this. And he's like, it has to be an issue with me. It can't be an issue with what's being revealed.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
it's an issue with me.
So I don't want people to feel like they're hopeless, like, if parents are listening or anything and saying, oh, we can't do anything, right, about it and so forth. But, there was a research study that was done, and they showed that, like mothers who live with a stepfather, right, or got remarried, their daughters have a higher percentage of having lesbian tendencies than a woman that stayed in like the first marriage.
Is it because of what they witnessed?
I'm not sure. They didn't go into like this is just research, but it's hard to find a lot of research on this, right? But it was 9.6% compared to 4.5%.
Wow.
Right. So I tell parents that maybe we might feel like we're hopeless or there's nothing to do, but it starts from the home. Like,
would you recommend anyone to do conversion therapy?
Conversion therapy, from what I know, doesn't work.
Why? I think that's something that the LGBT community says that it's because they want gender or sexual orientation to go one way. Like, they're perfectly fine with a straight person becoming homosexual, but they can't come the other way around. That's because I've heard this many times. Conversion therapy doesn't work, and you see many testimonials from the Christian community saying that they've gone to these therapy sessions and stuff, and it's actually worked for them, and they became heterosexual. And I think one of the most important things that we can't overlook is that if a homosexual, if a straight man can become a homosexual, there's got to be another way around where you can flip that switch as well. There's just so many examples of it.
Here's the thing, like, I mean, there's honestly, on TikTok, there is a trend of guys who used to be confused about their identity, like dressing like women. There's like 3 or 4 I've seen recently coming up, and they posted befores, right? And they have Nasheed going in the background, but they posted. No, hold on. No, I'm sorry, but it's great. No, but about before, right? About how like they show pictures of them and videos of them like dressing like women, wearing makeup, doing the whole thing, and then you see this transition where they're like no, and then like you see them growing their beards out and becoming like Deviant, right? Like practicing praying. And so what I'm saying is that I'm not saying it's everybody, but like Sim said, there may be a handful of young people that are confused because of the onslaught that's being fed to them, and they're reminded of other parts of their deen that it calls them back to Allah, and they realize quickly. But I think the key thing I would say here is that you can't just force them away.
You can't.
You have to make them part of the conversation. You have to try every way to include them, every way to keep them around you, so long they're not trying to influence others and try to but just exhaust every method to make them feel that you're listening to them and that you're trying to be there for them. And in that process, they can see by your example, right, that it doesn't always have to be a conversation about their sexuality. It could just be about other things, like inviting them to prayer, inviting them to fast with you, or whatever it may be. Right, and so therefore they can see the hikmah behind other things in religion that then influence them ultimately.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like trying, even like conversion therapy. That's great if it'll work. You know what I'm saying? I don't know too much about it. I remember I used to, when I was in Egypt, I used to watch like these conversion therapy things, like, these Christian guys taking people in the forest and stuff. I was like, dude, this is a great idea, you know? And I just never knew about the results. I thought it was a really cool idea. But the reason I mention all that is, look, everyone is tested by Allah in so many different ways. Some people are tested on one thing, which is very grand. I remember you were saying this, and you were having this conversation with your kids. You were saying that, look, there's always a trade-off, right? There's always a give and take in this world. Some people are going to get something, you're not going to get something. You're going to get something that you definitely feel that you didn't deserve, and people had to work their butts off to get that thing, right? So you have to remember, dude, like...
there's straight guys who can't find a spouse no matter how hard they try, no matter
you're right.
Or
what
they
they do,
struggle
how
with-
good they are. They're going to have to live a life of abstinence.
Yeah.
And that's the test that Allah gave
That's their
them.
test. That's their test.
Or they're straight guys that have one wife and they cannot be like quote unquote faithful, right?
Yeah.
Like they need more than one wife.
Yeah. No, I know. But so people who have these feelings and thoughts and tendencies, it's like, look, it's a test, bro, and just don't give into it. And I know it's easier said than done, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like Muslims, we have to, the same way that we stayed virgins until our marriage, until we got married. It's the same thing. It's just, you know, and that's why I think that reminding you of taqwa and stuff, it helps. It doesn't mean it's going to cure you. It doesn't mean it's going to cure somebody, but it helps them being around Allah, knowing that they have this loyalty to Allah. And if they have this loyalty to Allah, they're not going to give in to their fitna, right? And you're an amazing person for doing that, because it can be very easy, because the way the world is going, you could just give up your deen and be like, dude, screw these people. You know what I'm saying? I got the whole LGBT community behind
the
me.
army, the whole
Strongest
rainbow
of the
army,
army,
Qawm al-Harub
the whole
behind you.
army
Yeah,
behind me
yeah,
now.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Say what? Say what?
You get all the validation.
Think about
And they'd be a superstar. Sorry to cut you off. They'd be a superstar because they're Muslim, and then now they're a part of that
they love
community.
it.
Like,
They-
oh yeah, the Muslims are with
they
us
love
now
it.
too.
Well, you
Because
saw
honestly-
in Houston, right?
Yeah.
The lady that made the masjid, the first
Oh, yeah,
LGBT
yeah.
masjid in Houston, and her father is actually I don't know if I should say this because I could be wrong, but I heard he was on the board of one of the masajid. Now, I mean, I'm not blaming him at all.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a huge test. That you're running a masjid and then your daughter is doing this.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
That's very
But
difficult.
you know, this is a great thing, because it comes down to this thing where, like, there's a whole test here that you have to, essentially endure. And if you don't have, again, the support system around you, and that's why I say you can't force them away.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier for them. Like, at a time when the LGBT community was small, it was easier to shun somebody because it had nowhere to go to.
Yeah.
Right? But now it's so large and so welcoming, because honestly, the last frontier against this kind of thing being acceptable is Islam. Meaning Christianity, you have like abundance of gay churches. You drive anywhere down here and says, all welcome here, in the rainbow flag. You have like lesbian rabbis, right? I mean, it's everywhere. Islam is still one of those things where we would never consider them to be orthodox, and it's so far, I mean, alhamdulillah for right now, right? And so they would love for them to accept and come over to that side, because they can use you or them as that token, quote unquote, gay Muslim, and they would love it. They would parade it around.
Of course.
And it's enticing. They'll pay you. They'll represent you. And to be honest, that community, they rally around each other.
Yeah.
Like that is probably the only protected community now.
Yeah.
More so even than the Jews now. Like, you say anything about, like, you can call whatever now about the Jews. I mean, when crazy Trump, right, came out, there's some of them are chanting, you won't replace us. How about Jews, right? They were walking around with their tiki torches and running around, and people didn't like it. But if they did that about gays, oh my God,
Yeah.
it would be like the wrath of God coming on them, right? And so they are the most protected class now. They're willing to. They just need that token Muslim to come out and do that.
Yeah.
guys, we're at the end of our show. Any closing thoughts that you'd like to say before we
I'll leave it with the
depart?
guests.
Well, no,
Of course not you, Lord. He's the guest, not you.
You were looking at me, so I thought you wanted me to do it.
Well, I definitely do appreciate you all having me on here, but I will tell anybody that's listening, don't be worried about seeking help, right? Get the help that you need. If you're having marital issues, whether you come through us or you go through somebody else, the point is to get help in your marriages. If you're having problems with your children, and you're not sure how to deal with it, go through us or go through somewhere else that you're able to get help from. Don't think you're alone. You know, that's the message that I want to give people. It's like, I don't even care for you to go through us because, you know, that's fine. But get help that you need as a person, because you need to function. And if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the people around you. Right?
Yeah.
And then you won't be able to worship Allah.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to fulfill what we're here for.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And if you need, you know, advice on want to break off your marriage, Farhan will be your homewrecker.
No, definitely not.
You're gonna say it with serious face. That's what I meant. You're gonna serious face, but the sudden under arch.
And Naveed Hussein can represent you.
Naveed Hussein, attorney at law.
And Naveed Hussein will be very happy, right?
Naveed will be like paying Farhan at their table. Like, yeah, break him up.
It's an inside job.
Yeah, we expect a cut too right here. Okay, you see that? It's a promotion.
We're all working. It's money's flowing. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Folks, don't forget our sponsors, meccabooks.com, for all your Islamic learning needs, all your, what's it called? What was the bibliophile needs? You know, bibliophiles are, right?
People who read with reading in books.
That's a big word.
Bibliophiles is not that big a word. Come on.
It's rare.
But
nobody uses it.
Well, anyway, folks, make sure you help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Everything that you see related to this production is relying on your support on Patreon. Deep respect and love towards all the existing Patreon supporters who've been supporting us over a number of years. My heart and duas are for you. More importantly, Sheikh Amar's duas are there for you each and every night in Tahajjud prayer. He's thinking about you guys and how much blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be bestowed upon you. So there's that.
And last thing, go to www.ihsancoaching.com.
Yes, sir.
He's going to be our next sponsor too. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Hey, I had to plug in, you know.
Hey, make sure you guys like that video too. Don't leave you. Last time you guys left early without liking.
Like the video, folks.
You don't like you? I'm going to send them out.
If you can't give a couple bucks, just hit like and maybe throw a comment section about your horror stories. You know, I'd like to. There's some people who just like listening to people's horror stories, and
it's normalizing, right?
There's a great. I don't know if it's a great, but there's an article on the New Yorker about the Muslim students who are getting secret marriages, and it's a great. Well, I don't know if it's a great article, but it's written about some Adil Zeb, who's a what's it called? Parishioner and a chaplain. Why do you always confuse chaplain with parishioner? Always. He's a chaplain at these universities, and he was saying that many kids are coming up to him and he's refusing to give them the secret marriages, which
the urf marriages,
which is a topic for another day, and maybe we can explore that a little bit more maybe on next week's episode. But that's our show for this evening. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.